ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. Welcome all of you doctors. I heard from Sarlakshan Prabhu that Dr. Angam Yogeshwar Singh's family members have brought all of you together today for this event. And I heard about Dr. Angam Yogeshwar Singh ji also. I read a brief introduction about him. Sarlakshan Prabhu was involved the last few days before his passing away. And he had gone to offer him garland, Mahaprasad of the Lord, and he attained great peace and bliss in the last few days, just prior to his passing away. And you were telling about his daughter, I think, right? No? Madam, is it?
Yeah, she is.
Hare Krishna, yeah. So they are all from Manipur, and Manipur has a very rich tradition of Krishna culture. Even the great kings in Manipur were pure devotees of Krishna. So he had a very good blend of both being a very great doctor on one hand, on the other hand coming from a very rich spiritual tradition from Manipur. So I'm very thankful to Madam for bringing all of you doctors together today in this occasion. Because you're all doctors, I will say something relevant to you. Especially if some near and dear one passes away in our family, it really jolts us, it shakes us and wakes us up to asking questions about what is this world, who are we, and why our near and dear ones are taken away. So, when you talk about evolution, Darwin's evolution, the talk already starts with the two prior assumptions. One is that someone is alive and they're already conscious. And then you further take it ahead about how the evolution takes place. But where are these two things coming from? How is an entity alive and how is an entity conscious? There is no explanation for that. Dawkins in the previous century tried to talk about the theory of spontaneous generation of life from matter, which is simply ridiculous because the 5 steps that he explains, it fails in each of the steps. The evolution of life from the primordial soup. Each step it fails. And still he says that some or other miraculously it happened. So there is no clear explanation of life arising from matter or how a living form is conscious. So one observation you will make in this world, we all have multiple activities we do in this world. For example, personal, interpersonal, social, and we are also attracted by aesthetic things and also cultural activities. All these different fields of activities that we do, I'm talking about the living bodies, not the dead matter. We're talking about living bodies. And of all these different realms we interact with, science is one small part of multiple realms. And one has to be able to give a sound, logical, understandable, acceptable explanation of what life is and what death is, about which I'm going to speak today. And you are free to stop me anytime in between my session also to ask me any question. You don't have to wait till the end of the talk. I'm only going to speak half an hour only. But if any of you feel anything unacceptable, you can raise your hand and ask me questions. You will see that like Thomas Huxley made a statement. I can clearly see that in this world, the living forms have conscious awareness, which is different from matter and force. He said, Thomas Huxley said, it's the third thing in the universe, to wit, to be conscious. He said that. Another observation you make is the living forms produce chemicals, but a combination of chemicals don't produce living forms. For example, take a lemon tree, it produces tons of citric acid. But if somebody supplies you the citric acid, you cannot make a lemon tree from that. For example, right now, science has become so advanced that you can separate all the chemicals from a human body and you can assemble them all back. But from a living body, many chemicals come out. But by combining chemicals, nobody has formed life. Even the Miller's experiment, producing amino acids, that is not any evidence for production of life. Actually, living bodies may secrete many chemicals, but that is not a symptom of life. For example, say I take a nail and I hit with a hammer, say by mistake I hit it on my finger. So nociceptors are contracted and the electrochemical signal passes through the nerves, it goes to my brain. And naturally it produces a spike in the brain, in a brain wave, if you see. But the question arises, who is the perceiver of the pain or the perceiver of the pleasure? Is it cerebrum? Is it medulla oblongata? Is it endocrine glands? Who is actually perceiving? So that question is what we will answer today. The perceiver in this body. When you observe this body logically, how is it different from matter? This is matter now. And I am spirit. And I am a living body. So what is the difference between the two? You will see that we all are conscious. Like Himalayas is standing in front of the ocean, but the ocean cannot see Himalayas. And Himalayas cannot see the ocean. They can't see each other. Both are dead matter. Whereas you have the ability to perceive. Perceive means like you can see with your eyes, smell with your nose, hear with your ears. You can taste with your tongue. You can touch and feel something. You have the ability to perceive with your senses. Shabda, sparsha, rasa, rupa, gandha. This is what Schrodinger in his writing said. He said that science has absolutely no information about experiences. If I show you a picture of something beautiful, like a beautiful natural scenery, you can say, oh wow, it's beautiful. But a machine cannot say it is beautiful. It has no ability. A machine cannot tell you how tasty a gulab jamun is. It cannot tell you how fragrant the rose is. It cannot tell you. These 5 things, Shabda, Sparsha, Rasa, Rupa, Gandha, cannot be perceived by any dead matter at all. For that matter, even if your computer in the morning, as soon as you open it, it says, good morning, or I love you, something it says. Million times you hear it, you are not going to be moved by it. Because you know that it is just a dead machine. For that matter, have you ever got season's greetings from somebody? Like I got one season's greetings from somebody, from a company. So it was written undisclosed recipients, which they sent to 1 million people. And I am also one of them. Does it touch your heart? On the other hand, even if somebody gives you a card handwritten, just 2 lines on a Diwali day or on a birthday, that touches your heart. We all are looking for personal interaction, not a dead, mechanical, impersonal experience. So, therefore, you all understand what I'm talking about, the conscious awareness and ability to perceive. You all can perceive. So, this is the very first thing that is called as I-ness. You all know that you are existing. Cogito ergo sum, Descartes said it. And you are also aware that others are existing around you, right? You know you are existing, others are around you, they also perceive the same way. This is one thing which is unique to living bodies. Not only human beings. You can take dogs, you can take cats, you can take insects. So we can see that the level of ability to perceive may be higher or lower. Nevertheless, ability to perceive is there in any living body. You will see that. For example, there is a worm, which doesn't have many senses. But when it is moving like this, you touch it, immediately it will defend itself. and they lie down as if it is dead. You have seen that, isn't it? Similarly, you will find, the other worms which come, you put a paper here, it will go like this, it will go like this. It has, you will see that there's perception. Somebody is trying to catch me or block me or something. They have perception. Secondly, there is a mental activity, you will see, which we do with our thinking, feeling, and desiring. For example, as soon as you perceive some object, immediately the thinking starts about it. For example, I encounter a snake on the way. As soon as I see the snake, immediately thinking starts in relation to that object. Oh, snakes are dangerous. They have a dangerous tooth. They have a poison. They can bite me. It can be fatal. So that is the thinking process. And desiring, and then you get a feeling in relation to that. What is the feeling? Fear, when you see a snake. And what is the desire? The desire is, I want to be saved from this creature. How? Take a stick and beat or something. So that's a third thing, which is called as purposeful action, which means perception, mental activity, and purposeful action. These three things you will see in any living body. You will see. Another example I'll give you to make the same concept reinforced and more clear. You go to somebody's house, they give you a gulab jamun in a vati, they have kept it in the table. So as soon as you see it, immediately that is perception. You are perceiving it. Oh, this is a sweet item, very special item. And in relation to that gulab jamun, you have mental activity, thinking, gulab jamun is sweet, it is delicious, I like it, I've eaten it before, and all those thinking. And what is the desire? Feeling is, oh, I love to eat it. And what is the desire? I wish they tell me to eat it. And then what is the purposeful action? They ask you, hey, you haven't eaten it, please take it. Then immediately you take a spoon and put it in the mouth. These three activities externally are observable in every living body. Any living body. The ability to consciously perceive, and ability to think, feel, and desire. And the purposeful action, which we do with our hands, legs, and speech. For example, if I am afraid of a snake, I may not use my hands and legs, but I may shout, snake here, please protect. I may shout, isn't it? Or thief here, protect me, like that. So we can use our speech or our hands or legs for purposeful action. So these are external symptoms or external observations we can make in any living body. And that's what Jagdish Chandra Bose proved about in 1903. He conducted an experiment by keeping a plant in a dark room, and then he opened the window, and the plant was going towards the light. So he said, you see, that means the plant is responding to light. This is one of the things that he used. Many other things he did to prove that the plants also have life, in order to prove that. So I told you 3 external symptoms. Now I'll tell you 3 internal symptoms I will tell you. The first thing, internal symptom is like the I-ness or the identity. You see that I am existing and others are also existing around me, and you have a desire to exist also. For example, if somebody is faced with a deadly disease, say cancer, for example, they do chemotherapy and all that, you know that. Why do we do that? We know that when somebody takes chemotherapy, all the hairs fall away and the body becomes very much different. But from the top of the head to tip of the toe, they completely perform chemotherapy for the body to vanquish any cancer cells possible in the body. And the goal is what? To help the person live longer, to eradicate the disease from the body. Is it not true? That means we try to make others live longer, and we ourselves try to live longer. You will see that. And there is a desire. Otherwise, why do we have ventilators? Why do we have ventilators? You will see that every effort made in the field of medical science, you will see, is ultimately to prolong life. If possible, then preserve life as much as we can. We have emergency wards and all those things. That means there is a tendency in all living beings to live and also want to see the near and dear ones live for all time, as much as possible. This propensity is there in us. This is our first thing. Second thing, all living beings, you will see that they have awareness, knowledge about themselves, knowledge about, for example, when you stand up, when you walk, when you eat, when you sleep, when you play, You are aware of all these actions when you are doing. Only living bodies are aware. Dead things are not aware. Only living bodies are aware. Not only you are aware, you also want to expand your awareness by going to school, going to college, going to laboratory, conducting more experiments, and trying to figure out the world around you. Why? Because by figuring out the things around you, in the world you are living in, there are various reasons why science does that. Science is doing it in order to make life more comfortable. Like, for example, if it is too hot, I invent a AC in order to, live peacefully. If it is too cold, I will have some heat pump or something. So science is inventing things to make life more comfortable. It's one of the goals. Another goal of medical science, for example, why do we expand it? In order to understand the nature of diseases in our body and try to root out the diseases. There are so many old diseases which were there, like smallpox, chickenpox, they are driven away, and then some new diseases have come. 3 years ago, we had SARS, and now we had a Delta variant, and then we had Omicron now. And we don't know what more will come, but we know for sure that we are not able to eradicate disease per se from the planet. And therefore, the doctors will always have the market, surely. In this world, there are always one disease goes and another disease comes. You will find that. But you will see, the goal of advancement in medical science is to either put a full stop to disease or delay the disease in destroying the body. You will see that. That means you will see that you are increasing your knowledge in the field of medical science. Like every one of you, you have done your MBBS and then MD subsequently, and many years of experience you have in your field now. And you might have probably specialized in one field, like one of our students specialized in ophthalmology. So when he and one of his classmates, one girl also came, both of them came. I met them, I asked them, so what is your understanding after completing MD in ophthalmology? They said, we understood that we know very little about the eyes. There is so much more to be known about the eyes. And that they are saying after MD also, which means every field is very deep and very broad. There's so much, oceanic it is. So a specialist in one field cannot know everything about other field, surely. That means we are ever knowledge seeking. You will see that. In order to know better and better, you will see. To make life comfortable, to minimize the diseases and problems, to figure out the world in which we are living in so that we can save ourselves from dangers, and ultimately to make life happier. That's actually the goal. So the second thing is about knowledge and awareness. Otherwise, why are there schools? Why are there colleges? Why people are going to schools and colleges to learn knowledge? Because we are knowledge seeking. Thirdly, you will find that we are doing everything in this world for satisfaction. We want satisfaction in everything we do. And we even try to give satisfaction to others also. Like parents try to please the children, and children try to please the parents. Everybody tries to please their boss in their office. Everybody is ultimately looking for satisfaction as the beginning. Eventually, you want to experience bliss and happiness and expanding happiness we are looking for in life. If I ask you how much happiness you want, this much or this much, you will say unlimited. If I ask you how much suffering you want this much suffering, this much suffering. No, you don't want any suffering at all. You want zero suffering and infinite happiness. And this is, you ask anybody from any part of the world. You ask an American, you ask an Australian or European or Indian, anybody, they all will agree with this. What I am talking are all universal principles. We are not talking anything sectarian to any particular place or anything. So, 3 things I told you, internal symptoms, which you can observe in yourself. You don't have to ask anybody. You observe it yourself. First thing I told you, you are aware of your identity. You are I. And then you are also aware of the identity of the people around you who are existing. You know that there are multiple identities in this world which you are perceiving. And with that identity, this identity internally tells you that I want to exist forever. And we don't want to perish. We want to flourish. Secondly, I told you that we are all knowledge seeking. We have awareness to some degree and we want to expand our awareness. Therefore, either we learn from schools and colleges and textbooks, or later on we do researches. In this way, we all grow in our awareness, knowledge. So, first is the existence aspect, second is knowledge aspect, third one is happiness aspect, satisfaction and happiness. Everybody is looking for. So, these 3 are internal symptoms, and amazingly, All these three have their base in only one thing, which is called relationships. For example, you see your identity in relation to the world around you. That is a existence aspect. And the awareness aspect, you see your identity in relationship to others through interpersonal and social dealings. You will see that. Similarly, you see your Ananda aspect through relationships. And awareness aspect also in relation to the things around you. That means the relationship is the basis of the whole existence. And without relationships, there is no happiness. For example, I had this much knowledge before. When I read a new book, which gives me a newer insight, so I can actually see that what I knew before was lesser, now I know better. Then that gives you happiness also. That means your knowledge also you see in relation to the previous knowledge you had. You'll see that. So therefore, the relationships forms the basis of life, actually. So these are the three internal symptoms and the three external symptoms I told you for the conscious beings, which is the perception, mental activity, and purposeful action. So 3 external and 3 internal symptoms. So the Vedas, the Vedic literature, especially Bhagavad Gita, says that there is something called a self-energy, which is different from the body, which exists in a living body, the absence of which makes the body become dead. Like you have brain death, you have heart death. So how do doctors know that somebody has died? There are 3-4 ways symptoms to find out how the body is dead. So when a body is alive and body is dead, what are the differences between the two, a living body and a dead body? According to Bhagavad Gita, there is a self-energy which energizes the body. Avinashi tu tadviddhi yena sarvamidam tatam vinasham. So he says, Avinashi tu tadviddhi yena sarvam. There is one Avinashi, means imperishable Atma or self-energy, whose presence makes the body lively. Just like if I put a gloves in my hand and do like this, the hand will appear alive. The gloves will appear alive. But do you think gloves has life? It doesn't have. When I remove my hand, the gloves falls. Similarly, Lord Krishna says that in this body, there is self-energy which has entered into this body, which makes the body lively. So now, for example, in the field of medical science, whenever somebody becomes angry or somebody feels happy, you can decode it in chemical terms. Like you can say C fibers are firing or delta fibers are firing, you can say. Or you can say that when a person feels joy, endorphins are secreting. Or when a person is feeling extremely angry or insecure or fearful, adrenaline is secreting. So there's the endocrine orchestra, based on which we can see observe the release of the chemicals. But the release of the chemicals themselves don't talk about experience of emotion. For example, on this table, if some certain chemicals or hormones are made to flow down, that doesn't produce any emotion in the table or the chemical. This is only a external symptom. Just like, for example, say, I did jogging, and because of that my body is sweating. Sweating doesn't give happiness. But the pleasurable feeling that you get inside, who is the perceiver? That perceiver in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, is the self-energy, who is actually a non-material entity. So there is something called as non-mechanistic science, we call it. There is mechanistic science. Mechanistic science means you have vernier calipers, you have screw gauge, you have electron microscope and all those things. If I keep a gulab jamun in front of a robot can take it and measure it with the vernier calipers. It can say the diameter of the gulab jamun is this much. It's a sphere. It has porosity this much. It is floating in the liquid of viscosity this much. All that it can say. But it just cannot tell you the experience of a gulab jamun. And that can be told only by a living body. A living person pops a gulab jamun in the mouth and says, wow, gulab jamun are sweet. That experience is only possible for one who is a living person. So in essence, when we talk about life and matter, so I'm summarizing now. Matter is dead and spirit is alive. Spirit means the Atma or the self-energy present in the body that makes the body alive. Secondly, matter only undergoes one change, which is depreciation. This table, if you keep it million years here, it will just depreciate and become powder, that's all. Whereas a living body undergoes 6 changes. It's born, It grows, it produces some byproducts like children and stool, urine, all those things from the body. And it is maintained and it dwindles and dies. Like I can see my body when I was a small baby, I was small. I grew into a small boy. Then I grew into a youth. Then my body goes to a peak like 30, 40, 50. Then after that, body shrinks and then gradually it dwindles and then it perishes. We can see that. Similarly, food also. When you eat from babyhood to boyhood to youth, the food increases. After a certain stage, the food reduces. You will see that. Strength in the body also. It increases to a certain peak up to 40, 50 years. Then it dwindles. You can see that. So 6 changes happen in a living body. Whether it is cat's body, dog's body, animal's body, bird's body, insect's body, aquatic's body, or human body, any body. But matter undergoes only one change. Thirdly, living bodies can multiply, reproduce, but dead matter cannot reproduce. That's another major change you find that in when the Atma is present in the body, then it's living, and living bodies can reproduce, otherwise not. Another thing I told you, in a living body, when the spirit is present, there are 3 observable external internal symptoms which are absent in dead matter. And living body has conscious awareness, and dead matter has no awareness. Dead matter, for example, like we were in Govardhanaka village in Bombay. One man was giving a class on how to deal with snakes. So he said, imagine you are sitting in the forest under a tree. If a snake crawls over you, he said, you just have to keep mum, keep quiet, don't shout, don't do anything, don't even budge 1 millimeter. And the snake will crawl over your body and go away. It will not bite you. He said, but do you think any of us can do that? Imagine a snake is crawling over you, it's coming close to your face. You're going to scream, or you'll at least make an effort to catch it and throw it out of your body. You'll surely make an effort. But a dead matter, that's the snake can crawl over this table and table is not going to respond because it has no self-energy. So, in this way, when the self-energy is present in the body, it produces huge amount of chemicals. But combination of all the chemicals in the human body cannot produce a living creature. Many scientists have tried. It has been going on for hundreds and thousands of years. Nobody has produced even a mosquito or even a small germ or anything in the laboratory. Nobody can combine the chemicals and make life. There was one in Illinois State University. One professor was giving a lecture about chemical evolution. So one of our Hare Krishna students who was Dr. T.D. Singh, he did his doctorate there. So he stood up and asked a question to the professor. Sir, last couple of hours you are explaining about chemical evolution. If I give you all the chemicals in a human body, can you combine them and make a human being? So the professor first time thought about it and said, sorry, that I cannot say. He said, because no one has produced one, nor will they be able to produce it. Because dead chemicals are not alive ever. Although we think this body is just a chemical bundle, nothing more than that. But actually this body is of course a chemical bundle, but chemicals don't function on their own. The presence of the self-energy makes the body function. That's a fundamental knowledge that Lord Krishna gave to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita in the beginning. After that, you have a lot of things to learn. Okay, if I am not the body, if I am the Atma, if I am the soul, then who am I? Then why am I here? Because the Atma is having these 3 qualities, internal qualities I told you. We all don't want to die, correct, no? And the Atma never dies. Krishna says that, Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavakaha, nachainam kledayantyapo, na shoshayati marutaha. My dear Arjuna, the soul cannot be cut by a scissor, the soul cannot be burned by fire, the soul cannot be moistened by water, the soul cannot be dried by air, all the chemical and physical characteristics Lord Krishna is telling of the soul, Atma. So now, this great doctor who passed away now, it may cause some bereavement to the family of losing a very near and dear one. But here Lord Krishna is assuring this family that, your father or your very dear family member, he has not died. Only his body. It's like a person who has got out of the car. He was in the car before, now he is outside the car. And he will be occupying another vehicle. But because he comes from a good family, virtuous family, he will get a brighter future, better destination. And the soul leaves one body and accepts another body at the time of death, depending on what good and bad impressions one carries at the time of death in the subtle body called mind. It stores in the mind, and whatever desires are stored in the mind, the body is awarded to give shape to those desires. Like that. And people who are born in virtuous families, devoted families, they get a very high destination. Actually, originally we all are divine and pure, ultimately. But we fall to this material plane. Just like rainwater falling on the ground becomes impure, muddy. Similarly, we have come from a divine plane to this plane, and God is giving us multiple opportunities in multiple bodies. Like I have a Luna. I leave the Luna and take a scooter. Leave the scooter and take a Maruti. I leave a Maruti and take Benz. I leave a Benz and take a chartered plane. I'm changing the vehicles, but driver is same. And why God is putting us through different bodies? Each body is one more new opportunity to become evolved in our purity. Through the multiple bodies, we become 20%, 30%, 50%, 60%, 80%, 100% pure. Then we return back to the divine plane from where we have fallen. And in that divine plane, there is boundless happiness. There is no old age, there is no disease, there is no death. And everyone is non-envious. Everybody is obedient child of God. So, Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna explains these things in a very systematic manner. So, my humble request to all of you all are doctors. Doctors are very influential members in a society. People put great faith in you to come and show their body for diagnosis and subsequent treatment. So, not only you can be a doctor for the body, you can become doctor for the soul also. If you study the Bhagavad Gita, learn the science of Gita. In essence, Bhagavad Gita Krishna teaches 4 things in Bhagavad Gita, which I will summarize for all of you. Okay, you all can repeat after me. This body is not all in all. Soul exists. This one lifetime is not all in all. Many more lifetimes exist. This material world is not all in all. Spiritual world exists. We are not all in all. There is a God in control. So these are the 4 things that Krishna teaches. So the God in control is G. And this body is not all in all, soul exists. That is I, identity. And one body, we leave one body and go to second body, third body, fourth body. That's called transmigration. That is T. And this material world is not all in all. There's a spiritual world, means that's the ultimate aim of life, which is to go from this world to that world. That is aim of life. So G-I-T-A. You can remember this summary, okay? G means there is a God in control. We are not all in all. And I for identity. I am spirit soul. I am not the material body. And T for transmigration, one body to another. And A for aim of life, which is to go from this world to the original divine plane from where we have fallen, where we are experiencing unlimited happiness in loving relationships with God and other souls in pure lifestyle. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Let us thank His Grace Radheshyam Prabhu. So Radheshyam Prabhu is our temple president of ISKCON Pune, as well as ISKCON Radha Kunjubari Temple in Camp, and Hyderabad Temple. And he is a MTech, IIT MTech gold medalist from IIT Powai. And his schedule is very busy. Today he had another appointment to big inspectors from Pune, near that Pune cantonment area. Just for this program, he cancelled all the programs and he came here. So because some important doctors like Dr. Jyotsna, she organized, and other doctors are also there. Some doctors are there. And I saw how Dr. Jogeshwarji, so last stage, he was hankering for some spiritual arrangement. Or A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, once he said, Bhajan karle, sadhan karle, marte jaan le hoy. Means whatever bhajan sadhan you have done in your life, so at the time of death, it will be revealed. So like that, Dr. Jogeshwarji, final stage, he was hankering for some spiritual arrangement. Dr. Josna ji, she called our Parmeshwari Mataji because she's a gynec in Jahangir Hospital. So Parmeshwar Mataji's daughter had some means she had some treatment with the Dr. Josna ji. So at that time she called Parmeshwar Mataji, and Parmeshwar Mataji called me, and I took some garlands of Sri Radha Vrindavan Chandra and Charan Tulsi, Ganga Jal, everything. And final time, we took Tulsi Mala, and Tulsi Kanti Mala was also given to him. And the final stage, at that time, he became very peaceful. It was 2-3 days before his passing away. And 26th January, he left his body. Very peaceful. And we heard so many things about Dr. Jogeshwarji. So all of them, they are all coming from very big, means very respectable family. Dr. Josnaji also doctor, and Yogeshwarji, his wife is also doctor, and one more daughter. She's in London, right? Yeah, she's also doctor. So all this family, although they are coming from very nice background, but still because of that Manipura culture, they're connected to Krishna. And today, for 13th day celebration day, all of them, they came here. We are very, very thankful for all of you. It's your temple. Please come again. And now we will, after this program, we will directly go to the temple. Now Aarti is going on. Thank you very much for coming to Shri Radha Vrindavan Chandra. Hare Krishna. Let us chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra once. Please
Hare
raise your hands. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna.
So when someone passes and after that we come to the temple, we pray to the Lord for the benefit of the soul, departed soul. I'll request all of you to pray for Yogeshwarji, who I heard was a very great example and model for many, many doctors. And you all have come to the temple and made his life even more auspicious by coming together and listening to your satsanga from Bhagavad Gita and praying to the Lord. And my humble request to every one of you, don't take this as just one passing program, but you can take it as a glorious golden era in your life of beginning spiritual life, with having a copy of Bhagavad Gita with you. And if you go to the YouTube and put Radheshyam Das, you put Radheshyam Das, in that you go to the playlist. In the playlist you will find GAME. That's called Gita for All Made Easy. GAME. So there are more than 73 sessions are there with PDFs and videos are there. At your own leisure, you can go through them. There is one thing called DYS, Discover Yourself. This is an 8-session course. After that, we have game course. So I know you are all very busy doctors. All day your life will be busy. Sometimes even 24 hours duty, or even one doctor told me, MD doctor, that 72 hours you worked at a stretch sometimes. Your life is very busy. Therefore, I told you that in this channel you will get videos which you can hear at your leisure. So enhance your wisdom of Bhagavad Gita. And Sarlakshan Prabhu is our vice president in our temple. He is based here only. I travel half the month. First half of the month I am here. Second half I travel outdoor a lot. But this temple, when you take darshan and go around, you will love it, and you can come again another time in future again. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Radheshyam Prabhuji, and also Sarval Lakshan ji for presiding over and preaching the Holy Gita at the end moment of my father. And for that, I would always be very grateful. And I also take this opportunity to thank Dr. Unni, who's come all the way from Jahangir Hospital, leaving a very hectic schedule to attend this function for my father. I also extend my gratitude and thanks to Tamo Narendra, Giri, Pakasana, Tamo, and everybody who has left their busy schedule on a working day to be here to attend this function that we have organized in ISKCON for my father. He has been a very silent and a very strong person all throughout our lives and guided all of us. The person who was always been very righteous, disciplinarian for all four of us, and also for his brothers, and a lot of people who look up to him, his students in Imphal. So I'm really proud, and I got to know more about him after his passing away, after I got a chance to speak to his students about his teaching and everything. And so we are really blessed to be here and to be presided over by Prabhuji to, bless the soul so that he can reach higher level. Thank you very much. And from here, I think Sarvalakshan Prabhu will guide us to the mandir for the arti. And after that, we'll get the prasad.